Morning, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, my name is Vincent Kerr, MPP for Don Valley North, and I'm the parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Heritage, Sport, and Tourism and Culture Industries. This past year and a half has called attention to just how critical Ontario tourism business are to the success of our economy, as well as for the hundreds and thousands hard-working Ontarians who earned their living in these important industries. As the MPP for Don Valley North and GTA, I know Toronto is and always will be the center of Ontario tourism. We know that the full recovery of this tourism industry here in Toronto and across the Ontario will be challenging. It will take time, but tourism sector will emerge once again as a powerhouse of economic growth and for social well-being for all Ontarians. To support this, our government has made significant investment to help tourism re-emerge in the GTA and across Ontario. So we are here today for an important announcement on strengthening this sector in Toronto. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce the Ontario's Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Industries, the Honourable Lisa MacLeod.
Thanks very much, Vincent. It's always great to be in the great city of Toronto with my parliamentary assistant from Don Valley, and to make sure that we're standing here in support of our tourism industry. I'm also pleased to be here with our president and CEO of the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, Lorenz Hassenstein. And Lorenz, of course, has been working with me non-stop as minister, as an agency of the ministry, and I want to thank him for the great work that he is doing. And I know he'll have a few remarks later, as well as Robert Housez, and Robert, of course, is with Destination Toronto. Before I announce what we're here to announce, which is important, I want to take a moment to reflect on what we have gone through in the past 16 months. No sectors in the economy have been hit harder, were hit first, and will take the longest to recover as those in the heritage, sport, tourism, and culture industry sectors. Together, they are a suite of sectors that represent $75 billion in economic activity and contribute to a spectacular double bottom line, both in terms of jobs and livelihoods, but also in the memories that we make. Tourism in itself represented $36 billion in receipts. And I look across at Ripley's Aquarium, and on the 12th of March, 2020, myself and then President and CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, Beth Potter, were set to announce that $36 billion increase, up by $2 billion. That press conference was canceled because it was the day that we had declared a global pandemic. And for the past 16 months, attractions like Ripley's, convention centers like the Metro Toronto Convention Centers, our hotels like Hotel X, and the Hazelton and many others here in Toronto have maybe not been shuttered completely, but have seen their capacity greatly reduced. Now, no more have we seen this except for in our gateway cities of Ottawa and Toronto, our provincial and our nation's capital. They have been disproportionately hit in very difficult times, as many people have chosen to visit more rural and remote communities across the province when it has been safe to do so, and it is safe so right now. And that's why our government commissioned a task force for tourism, economic development and recovery. And in one of the recommendations, they said that we must invest in our gateway cities. So yesterday I had the opportunity in my hometown, our nation's capital in Ottawa, to announce $8.2 million to support that gateway city, and today I'm here to announce money and funding for the City of Toronto. You know, our gateway cities are home to our two largest international airports, our major convention centers, which are aligned with this ministry, the major cultural institutions, not just in Ontario but across Canada. We have our major league sports, like the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Argonauts, and of course our beloved Toronto Blue Jays. And we also make sure that we continue to identify and welcome people from around the world as the most diverse communities in the world. So that's why today our government is making a strategic investment for $16 million to Toronto's provincial tourism-related agencies and organizations. Now, in safer times, the Metro Toronto Convention Centre is revenue generating themselves. They don't look to the ministry for extra support. That said, these have been difficult times, and this once lively spot of conventions and events and galas has been shuttered. And so today I'm announcing $7.3 million in stabilization funding to support the continued operation and maintenance of this iconic facility. This is in addition to $13.5 million the government has provided in stabilization costs throughout the pandemic. In addition, $9 million is going to be provided to Destination Toronto to help alleviate losses, aid the recovery, and, when it's safely possible, to ensure Toronto's tourism businesses are ready to attract more domestic and international visitors. Destination Toronto will be working with the ministry on marketing so that we can work with Destination Ontario and those around the world who we want to come back to Toronto at the appropriate time to have a marketing plan that wisely invests resources to the maximum effect. We will invest in product development to collaborate with all tourism partners to improve market readiness of existing experiences and create new niche tourism products to entice and target new visitors when it's safe to do so. We are fully committed to workforce development, and we'll work in collaboration with tourism operators and other partners to develop strategies that address the needs of tourism employers and workers and provide visitors with enhanced experiences. We will invest in attractions, and we'll work with private and public sector partners and the municipality to identify opportunities for new or existing tourism infrastructure investments. And finally, this funding will go toward partnerships to allow for collaboration between a variety of partners in order to leverage regional resources and to support incremental tourism activities that support the implementation of Destination Toronto. Toronto and Ottawa are key tourism hubs. They are home to Ontario's largest airports and convention centers, as I said, and we need them to be back on track and ready to accept not just leisure travelers, but business travelers as well. I'm going to continue to work with the tourism industry to ensure that when this pandemic is over, Ontario will be in the best position to welcome the world back to the world in one province. And make no mistake, the people who rely on these sectors, their livelihoods, their jobs, are ready and willing to come back to work, and we want to make sure that when it's safe to do so, we are in a position to allow for that to happen. So again, ladies and gentlemen, today we are announcing $16.3 million to Destination Toronto and of course the Metro Toronto Convention Centre so that when it's time, we'll be ready. We have taken the last 16 months and we have decided to plan rather than panic, and today we are planning for the safe reopening at the appropriate moment to allow this to happen. I'd now like to call Lorenz to the podium to offer some remarks on behalf of the Metro Toronto Convention Centre and the Board of Directors. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lorenz Hassenstein. I'm the President and CEO of the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. I want to start off by thanking the Honourable Lisa MacLeod and her Deputy, Nancy Matthews, and her Assistant for doing such a wonderful job in supporting the MTCC On an annual basis, we generate some $500 million in economic throughput, and we contribute to the economy of the city and the province, and we're proud to do so. We do so quietly and humbly. But without this support, we would not be able to do so anymore. So this ensures continuity of our operation and the 2,000 or so people that work here on a regular basis. It's very important to the local economy and the restaurateurs and transportation and the airports and the hoteliers. So it's very, very important, and we're very appreciative. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to supporting the industry getting back to work when it is safe to do so, and we're hoping that that's sooner rather than later, but we'll rely on government to let us know how that's all going to go. With that, I want to say thank you again. We're deeply indebted and very appreciative, and looking forward to contributing once again.
Well, thank you very much, Minister, for that exciting news. I have a very important strategic investment in our industry. As you mentioned at the outset, it was hit first, it was hit hardest, and it will be the last, or among the last, to recover fully. So we certainly appreciate the investment from that perspective. It's also very, very important to understand, I think, that this is a key part of the two gateways city strategy. As the Minister mentioned, Toronto and Ottawa are the gateways to this great province of Ontario. You can't really get here and experience what you want to experience without going through these two cities. And it's critical that we get the two cities back up on their feet and operating so that we can welcome guests, not only from Ontario or other parts of Canada, but indeed from around the world, back to our great province and back to our great country and to our terrific city. It's also important, I think, to understand that from a perspective of Destination Toronto, from the hotels, from all the services that benefit from tourism within the city, and when you start to think about it, it's really every single service industry out there. It's the taxi driver out on the street, it's the people that work at the attractions, the people that work within the hotels, the people here at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. And without those tourists back, without that corporate travel back, without those conventions back, we don't have hours for wonderful hospitality professionals. And this very important investment is going to help us win on a very competitive international stage, to bring that sort of large convention business back, to bring those groups back, to help supplement the return of the leisure business, so that indeed everyone prospers in our great city and in our province. So once again, I'd just like to conclude by thanking the Minister for her outstanding partnership and leadership through this terrible time of crisis. And we look forward to working very, very closely with the province as we move forward and start to reopen Toronto for business. Thank you very much.
We now have time for a couple questions. Just a reminder, one question, one follow-up.
Hi, I'm Saran Fennell with CTV.
Hey, hey.
Just have a question about the borders and how important international and domestic travel is when it relates to Toronto economy.
Yeah, obviously, international visitorship is going to be critical. I had the opportunity yesterday to leave Ottawa and come to Toronto, via Air Canada, and so we're starting to see air travel pick up, at least domestically at the moment. We are focusing this summer on hyper-local tourism. We're encouraging people to safely explore their own neighborhoods and reconnect across the province. But that said, we're starting to see a great deal of people being vaccinated, case counts are going down, so we'll continue to take the advice of the Medical Officer of Health of the Province of Ontario, and we'll continue to follow what the federal government does with respect to the borders. But certainly right now we're encouraging Ontarians to really visit Toronto, visit Ottawa, visit the North, visit Niagara Falls, visit Windsor, and really reconnect with your own communities and your own province at the moment. And that's what's going to be really critical for tourism recovery until the borders are open.
Follow-up?
Can I ask a follow-up to Lorenz Hassenstein?
Yep.
You had mentioned that on a regular basis you have 2,000 staff here. What does that situation look like now?
As of probably April last year or May last year, and it's improved a little bit, but not a lot. Roughly 89% of the staff has been on leave. So we have a skeleton crew that manages the building now and makes sure it's in operational, it's in a safe place, and we can, reopen it as soon as possible.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Minister. Minister, I'm trying to check to make sure you're free.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate that. Thank you for the help. Minister, when you look at the rest of the world, you're seeing fans in the stadiums. And that's just not in Europe, that's in the States, that's throughout other jurisdictions. Why can't, and they're playing sports and they're cheering on their teams, why can't the Blue Jays play at the Sky Dome, given the numbers are so low?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we have cleared through an accelerated return to play protocol the Blue Jays to return to play. They could be doing that now as long as the federal government allows them to cross the border. But as of right now, the province of Ontario has cleared the Toronto Blue Jays to play, and my hope is, and we continue to work with both the Blue Jays, MLSE, the Ottawa Redblacks, the Ottawa Senators, and others to approve a return to fans and stands. So we're continuing to work on that right now with the Chief Medical Officer of Health. But definitely, my hope is that the Blue Jays will be able to play ball just right across the street from here very shortly.
Date? Do you have a date?
Well, that would be entirely up to the federal government. The Blue Jays, I think, are looking at July 30th. We have allowed them, as I said, we cleared them to play, and it will be up to the federal government whether they're going to allow the same situation they have allowed for the NHL, which is to let the MLB cross the border.
Okay, that's the same type of question, different aspect. When you look at the Calgary Stampede is going on, they have restrictions, there are protocols that they're going to follow. Other tourist attractions across Canada are going to be open. In the States, all of them are open, a lot of them are open right now. Why can't the CNE be open this summer if the Calgary Stampede is going to be open? Why can't we have Toronto Convention open right now?
A fair question, but looking at different jurisdictions is sort of apples to oranges. Obviously, we're dealing with a co-variant with the Delta variant right now of COVID-19. However, I'm optimistic given the fact that we've seen so many people be vaccinated. The case counts are very low now, and there's a much smaller amount of people in the ICUs. So as we continue to work for our sectors and around the jobs and recovery table and the health table, we continue to take public health guidance. But look, I'm optimistic. We've had a good couple of weeks in Ontario with the gradual reopening in step 2, and my hope is when we get to step 3, you'll start to see much more activity take place across the province.
When I look at it, it is apples to oranges in other jurisdictions, but we're doing better as far as vaccination rates go. And they have opened up their tourism. Why haven't we opened up our tourism? And if you can compare us to anywhere in the world, our vaccination rates are really high.
Yeah, we're doing very well. The difficulty, obviously, for us is that we are dealing with that co-variant. We continue to monitor what's happening in other jurisdictions around the world. We continue to implement best practices. When you look at this ministry, for example, and we're talking about the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, one of the most prominent in the world, and iconic, obviously, in this country, Lorenz and his colleagues around the world would be sharing best practices. Similar, the Royal Ontario Museum is part of a museum network, not just in our ministry, but obviously around the world. So we continue to look at that, and we continue to work with our major league sports organizations, and we've been able to work with MLSE and others to implement best practices. And so we're going to continue to do that. But as has been the case for the past 16 months, the safety and well-being and the health of Ontarians is our primary concern. And as we start to see the vaccinations increase, and I know many people are now double dosed, as am I, that gives us a great signal. So we continue to work with our health counterparts, and when they give us the clearance, then we'll continue to reopen, and of course I'll continue to advocate for my sectors.
Next question, please.
Hi, Minister MacLeod, Raphael Gilman, Creative
Raphael, I get to finally see you in person.
A question for my colleague first. You've given a bit of money to Tourism Ottawa, now Tourism Toronto. The AGO says they want to open on 21st of July. Other tourism attraction will want to do the same as soon as possible. Aside from this investment, what steps are you taking on the political side to allow tourism operators to open up and start making money again? Can you give us some dates?
Sure. So I can't give you a specific date, just as everything in this pandemic. It has been guided by the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of Health. And when we do the reopening, it is a result of that guidance and advice. That said, we continue to work with AGO, which is an agency of this ministry. We continue to work with them around a collaborative table to see what that return will look like. Right now, we're looking at museums and galleries opening in step 3. We're hopefully going to get to step 3 and start to see that broader reopening. With respect to supporting tourism operators, we do have a $100 million small business grant for tourism and travel. In addition, another $100 million will be coming through this summer to support the economic recovery of our tourism sectors. And we have a number of different other funds that are coming through. So there will be more money that will be available. And right now, we're just today's announcement is to remind folks that the City of Toronto and the City of Ottawa, our 2 gateway cities, have been disproportionately hurt during this pandemic, and it's time for us to really have a focused plan moving forward to get their economies back up and running.
Now on the sports side,
I knew you were going to go sports.
On a FIFA standpoint, Montreal dropped off of the race. Where are you at there? And do you have set a date for the visit of the FIFA in Toronto?
We've already had conversations with Soccer Canada as well as the City of Toronto, so those are very preliminary. To my understanding, there has not yet been a formal bid for Toronto. That said, I am 110% in support of the FIFA World Cup coming here in 2026, and will do everything within my power to support a plan from the city and from Soccer Canada and any bid that they may have. But I can tell you this will be a key economic generator, not just for the City of Toronto, but for all of Ontario and Canada. And I can't say enough about sport hosting. In the future, it is going to be absolutely critical as we get our convention centers back up and running. We also have to get our sport hosting back up and running. So we're thrilled that there have been preliminary discussions, and I'll be more than happy to make myself available at any time that FIFA may want to come here.
Last question.
And regarding the Toronto FC, they're coming back home tomorrow, looking to play on July 17th first in Toronto. What does it look like from a fan standpoint? It's an open-air stadium. Is there going to be, the 25% mark allowed for fans in that stadium? And does it look like the same for the Blue Jays if they come back to Rogers Centre, or is it just apply if the rooftop is open?
Well, we're still having those ongoing conversations with respect to the Sky Dome. My hope is that the Blue Jays can come back on the 30th of July. Again, that's up to the federal government. With respect to fans and stands, that's something that we continue to work on with our Major League sports organizations. Obviously, MLSE has taken a lead there, but we've been working with the Red Blacks, the Ticats, as well as others, the Senators, to make sure that that all of that our Major League sports are going to be able not only to return to play, which we've cleared them for, but to have some element of fans and stands. And certainly, as we move toward some of these major sporting events, that's going to be absolutely critical. We'll have more to say on that, but it really will be up to the Chief Medical Officer of Health and then ultimately a cabinet decision.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Habs.
Well done.